Hey.
We on?
We're on, bud.
I can't see your screen anymore, so it's really throwing me off a little bit.
Do you want to see it?
Well, I'm good now.
Okay.
We're on, so I mean, here we are.
Here we are, buddy. What's going on?
It's going, bud. It's going. Fuck it. You know, I got to be honest. I kind of miss you. I haven't seen you much this week since we did the last episode, and I kind of miss you.
The only time I saw you this week is when you're rounding the bases in your sandals, and
oh yeah, we did see each other. That was
on Monday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah,
we're Tuesday today, June the 18th. So
you know when you play like with kids, and then adults get like
a little competitive.
No, but they start. Everybody starts off, you know, they're good, and then all of a sudden, one adult gets competitive, and then one more does, and then it just ends up like full out playing against 9-year-olds.
And you'll notice that there's a reason that I didn't play basically the first 2 innings of that game yesterday. It was because I know myself. I know who I am. I know what I am. And the minute I put that glove in my hand, those 9-year-olds had no chance. So here we are. What an intro to the show!
Hey.
Welcome to Coast to Coast Podcast, episode 3. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Yeah, number 3 already. It's already been 3 weeks. That's awesome. I want to put a disclosure out there, or a disclaimer, I guess, because I do want to tell our listeners we are not psychics. We talk about sports. We make predictions about sports. And, man, the predictions that we came up with last week, some of them were close. They were, we talked about Rory, which we'll get into, last week being in contention. And he put on, he was in contention, all right. And then we talked about Edmonton trying to figure it out. They seem to, I know it's still early, but they seem to be figuring it out. And, I don't know. Blue Jays, we talked about them. All of a sudden, they've won fucking 3-4 series in a row.
Against good teams, too.
Against good teams.
Yep.
I don't know what the score is tonight. I know they lost last night against Boston, but that's nothing different than when a Toronto team loses to Boston.
Hey-o.
So this is awesome. Episode number 3. We're stoked. We got a really great special guest that's going to join us a little later on in the pod. So we're looking forward for him to join us. Shelly,
Yo.
why don't you tell the people what we're drinking tonight?
Oh yeah, let's get after it. So our official beer of the podcast is Full Beard Brewing Company from Timmins, Ontario, and today we are drinking a wonderful, I'm going to go back to, we're going to go back to.
Shelly's still working on his producer skills here.
Yeah, I'm really hurt.
He's still working on his producer skills.
Anyways, today we're drinking, oh my God, Bearded Prospector Pre-Prohibition Cream Ale. So this beer is a cream ale. Jesus Christ. I'm having a hard time. Where's my cursor?
Yeah,
we're good, man. We'll cut that out. That's okay.
We are pre-recorded, but it happens. Shit happens.
Like I was trying to do something all fancy, like showing you this. So this is a Full Beard website. You can order directly from their website, by the way. If you're in Timmins, you can go pick it up at the brewery, or I think it's delivered to your door.
They deliver it right to your door if you're not in Timmins.
Yeah, and they do trips all over Northern Ontario.
They go to Ottawa, I think.
Do they? Yeah.
I think I've seen.
And you can ship anywhere in Ontario. So
yep.
Head over to the Full Beard Brewing Company. I don't know how many beers they have. I think it's about like 12.
Yeah,
it's always
forgive us, John, if we don't have that number exact, but we'll definitely get Stats Guy Zach on that. That, find out how many beers Full Beard Brewing Company currently has under their wing. So
absolutely, but this beer, it's a cream ale, probably one of their staple beers. Easy drinking, just kind of a go-to, especially on a hot day like today.
Oh man, what a scorcher it's been, eh? It's been a couple days where it's just been absolute heat.
I've been sending like all the temperature stuff to Iceland, and they're like,
yeah,
fuck you.
Because in Iceland, it's just ice, right?
Wow, no.
I'm just kidding.
Oh Did you know? Okay, so I heard something about Iceland.
Yep.
And why it's called Iceland.
Okay.
So apparently they called it Iceland because when you go to Iceland, it's not ice. But now I'm just rambling. But
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
no,
I'm
no,
listening.
it's good. It's good. No, no. So they called it Iceland. So the Vikings that were there, they called it Iceland to trick the people that basically are trying to take over their land and stuff. The English and all that stuff.
The people wouldn't want to go there because they think it's full of ice.
No, yeah, and they think, okay, we're going to Iceland, but it's all green, so that's not Iceland, and they keep going to Greenland, which is full of ice.
Yeah, I think I remember that story or something similar in D2 The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
With that really good-looking trainer with the Iceland team. She was went out on a date with Coach Bombay, Gordon Bombay, and they explained something very similar to what you just explained, where Iceland is very green and Greenland is full of ice. Iceland is very nice, is basically the way she described it in that movie. This dating myself a little bit here with D2, but I know that the majority of our listeners would know exactly what we're referring to. So, but anyways, you know what? I'm looking forward to to you getting down there and getting more of these history lessons on Iceland. Honestly,
It's probably totally not true.
Well, that could be as well.
We'll get Stats Guy Zach on it to try to see if that's.
I don't know. I don't
know.
know what Stats Guy Zach, what kind of information he'll be able to find for us. He has a hard time finding the pretty pertinent stuff that we talk about on our pod. I don't know if he'll be able to find that for us.
He's not very good.
He's, he's worth the salary that we pay him. Let's put it that way. So, again, those that don't, this is your first time listening to the podcast. My name is Potts, and I got my co-host / producer. His name is Shelly, and we do have Stats Guy Zach behind the scenes. He's our essentially pretty self-explanatory stats guy, where when we need something, he gives us the information, but he's a little camera shy. So if you are listening for the first time, that is who our good buddy Stats Guy Zach is.
Hey, it's our last pod together for a few weeks now.
For a few weeks, yeah.
Yep.
I know you're heading out tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir. Detroit Rock City, baby.
Yeah. And are you going to the...
Gonna see Eminem.
Like, does he have a concert, or are you just saying that because he's from there?
Because he's from there.
Okay. Are you going to see Zach Bryan at Ford Field, or are you not going to do it? Probably not going to do it?
I don't know. It's expensive, and...
okay.
But, like,
Have you ever seen him?
No.
I'm surprised. Like, you look like a Zach Bryan guy. Like,
I had to look at myself.
yeah, so...
no. I'd bring my mom on a date, maybe. Go see Zach Bryan and Jason Isbell.
I think Cindy would really enjoy that date.
She probably would, yeah. She's probably listening to this pod right now. Yeah.
Well, not right now, live.
Well, like, it's right now, because it's not...
Oh, okay.
Because she's listening.
She would be listening to it when it does come out.
Anyways. Okay, move on.
Hang on, I gotta try. This is. I know last week you mentioned that the what was it? The hazy beer that we had there, hazy IPA.
Yep.
That was your favorite beer.
Hazy State of Mind.
Hazy State of Mind.
Yep.
You mentioned that one was your favorite one.
Yep.
This is my personal favorite, the cream ale. It's a lighter beer. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have that bitter taste at all. It's very light, very smooth drinking, and like you said, for these hot days, like I said, it's easy drinking. So, cheers.
Cool. Good talk.
Figured I had to throw that in there. That it was my favorite
I
beer.
could even hear you swallow.
Yeah, I know my mic really sounds much better quality. I don't know if it's the new soundboard or what, but
could be soundboard. And now we have headphones and shit.
Yeah, we're every episode we seem to get a little bit better. Now next week might be a complete fucking disaster because you're not going to be with me. It's going to be done through Zoom.
Yeah.
We'll see what next week brings.
We'll see how the internet is in the hotel.
Yeah. We might have to shorten the pod a little bit depending on our quality of technology that we have. So
we'll see.
I do want to, like I mentioned off the top, we talked about Rory McIlroy, and one of the biggest stories, not hockey related, this week, and we'll talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup final in a bit, but the biggest story for me is the Sunday choke job on Father's Day from Rory McIlroy. Like, wow.
Okay, I got something for you. Check this out.
Okay.
And for the people listening on Spotify and Apple Music, head over to our YouTube page to see what I'm kind of showing right now. But what do we got here? There it is. So, this is Rory. This is Rory McIlroy putting on the 18th green and 16th, I guess.
Oh my
Feel
gosh.
for the guy, man.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. You probably dad.
Yeah.
Oh, poor
Rory. Poor Rory. He's having, and I even heard a
Oh
rumor
my
today, I don't know if
gosh.
this is true. I can't confirm it or not, but I heard that he might be stepping away from the game of golf for a little bit.
He is for 3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. So
Then he's going to be at the Scottish Open.
yeah,
Scottish Open and then the Open.
yeah, and hopefully he can clear his mind. I know he's had a lot of shit going on in his personal life.
Yeah, poor guy.
So I hope I hope he can get it all figured out. I just
all jokes aside, like I love the guy and I want him to.
Yeah.
I want him to get that major again, and you know, like it's tough.
10 years. It's been 10 years since his last major win, and this is a guy that I read earlier today. This is a guy who started his career with the names of like Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus winning like 5 or 6 majors before the age of like 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And here he is at 35 years old or 36 years old now and still has only, I think it's 5 majors under his belt. Yeah. So it's been a really tough decade to say the least for Rory McIlroy. And look, like only in major championships. Like he's been lights out in a lot of the other PGA events and really been, when Live Golf came out and all the big names started to leave, you had DeChambeau, DJ, Phil, John Rahm are all headed there now. Ricky Fowler, I think, is there now. Like all of these big name guys took off and Rory and Tiger, they stuck around and they saw it through, right? And Rory's been a huge component of the PGA's success over the last. This is a guy who's won $170 million over his career in the game of golf. Like this ain't no slouch, right? He's financially he's a lot more successful than the DeChambeaus and the DJs and a lot of those guys, right? So yeah, I really hope he turns it around. But man, I was rooting for him. We were watching it all day. He teed off at just around 2:00, and he had a 2-stroke lead with fucking 5 holes left. A 2-stroke lead, and he bogeyed 16 and he bogeyed 18 with like a 3-footer to push a championship. Or, sorry, not a championship, a playoff. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the nightmares?
But the putting was so tough. Like, the putting was... Oh, my God.
Man, you're just popping out there.
I'm popping. Pop. Sorry, I fixed it. I believe I fixed it.
Yeah. But yeah, you could tell.
Just kidding.
You could tell that everything was tough. And DeChambeau did not play much better. I mean, he was missing every fucking fairway possible. Didn't have much success when it came to, with the driver. Success?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Check. We're good.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's what you said?
Yeah. Success.
Success.
So anyways, U.S. Open, congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau, who won his second U.S. Open. And in a little bit later, it's my second time. I have a hard time speaking.
That's
in a
okay.
little bit later,
you're allowed, Putz.
Yeah. You're still popping. In a little bit later segment, we'll talk about this day in sports history. That's the name of the segment, and we'll have a lot of U.S. Open content because a lot of firsts happened on this day at the U.S. Open. So that'll be interesting to talk about.
Interesting.
Yes. Shifting gears, my friend. Yeah.
Well, we talked.
Oh,
anyways, we talked about the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
I just want to add something on that.
Go ahead.
I became a huge Bryson DeChambeau fan.
Why?
Just the way he won and like the way he let everybody touch the trophy, and he was doing just things like kind of being like the crowd's player, And like I have some video here. It's I didn't like him because he was showy and all that stuff, but
are you becoming a live guy?
I'm not becoming a live guy.
No. Okay.
No. I'm a PGA.
And there's nothing wrong with live. Don't get me wrong.
I'm gonna be like all the PGA players that go to live. I'm a full PGA player, PGA guy right now, until they pay me millions of dollars to go there. Yeah, no, I'm gonna show you guys something. So there's Rory, but just little things like this that you see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what the game's all about.
I
right?
know, yeah.
and every sport, not just golf, but every sport. It's all about the kids and
And you know what? He's not even done yet. Like, he didn't even win yet. So
No.
this is like, it's easy when you win, and it's easy to go and like kind of do all this stuff when you win.
yeah.
But this is, he's doing that kind of right in the middle of his round. He's taking that time, which is, I gained a lot of respect for this guy this weekend, and
Yeah, and even I remember on Sunday they spoke a little bit after he bogeyed a hole.
sorry,
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
let you.
No, go ahead.
sorry, I kind of cut you off there, Butsy.
it's all good. Go ahead,
So this is him hitting a glow in the dark ball after.
Oh, was that him?
Yeah.
I saw the video. I didn't know
No?
it was.
Yeah. So you didn't notice with that swing?
Come on.
He looks like Potts after about 10 beer. That's what his swing looks like.
Really? No. He's got a much nicer swing than I. But his ball does. On Sunday, his ball was a little crazy, which is similar to what my ball does.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, it seemed like it was tough conditions there, and especially
did.
the putting was fast. And
Yeah, it was less than ideal conditions.
Ask Rory.
Man, I just feel for the guy. So
Me too.
it's anyways, like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about the history of the U.S. Open a little bit later. But I do want to talk about obviously the most when it pertains to hockey, the most entertaining thing in the game right now, and that's the Stanley Cup Final. Now, I got a question to ask you, Shell. Have the Edmonton Oilers entered the Stanley Cup Final?
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, it was getting. They waited till the 18th hour, no doubt. But are they like? I spoke about it last week. I wore my Oilers jersey. I put my jersey away because we were down 3-0. So I didn't wear it tonight. But man, 8-1. Like, they just put a good old Canadian licking on Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers on Saturday night, scoring shorties, scoring 5-on-3, scoring at will, really. And like, in my mind, I was just like, I remember talking about this last week, and I was like, at some point, Edmonton's going to figure it out. Stuart Skinner's going to figure it out. And man, like, they figured it out on Saturday. And look, knock on wood, it's still early. It's Tuesday night, and you guys will be listening to this tomorrow. But as we speak right now, the Oilers currently lead 4-2 after 2 periods of play. So, do we ship this thing back up to Edmonton, or are we handing out the cup?
Shipping up to Edmonton.
Hey! That would be, and you know what? It's a travel and a half from Florida to Edmonton, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And you got to bring your family up, because now if you do win the cup, you want your family there.
Yeah.
Like, families are making the trip back and forth and back. Like, this thing, if it goes back to Edmonton, I wouldn't want to be the Florida Panthers.
No. Florida has to win at home.
Has to.
Yeah.
They're not winning in Edmonton, I don't think.
No. But let's finish this game first.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to it.
But
no. There's one thing I found, and I was just online, and I was on Twitter and stuff, and just seeing kind of what they did differently to win. So I got some clips here, and might as well do it now, I guess.
Yeah.
Talking the game.
That's what we're talking about
the game.
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
Can you see my screen there, Potsy?
Oh yeah, I got it.
All right. So a couple things that they were doing is, and this is from Kyle McLennan on Twitter and
on X.
On X.
Can't call it Twitter anymore.
Man, why would you change the name? Like, it's terrible.
Elon Musk.
I get it.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Like, Twitter was such a good name.
I liked it.
Anyways, so one of the things they did that, Kyle noticed, and then after kind of reviewing the game in my head, I kind of saw it as well. They were doing a good job at like getting out of their zone and like stretching. So like in this video here, you'll see. So just in terms, they always have one guy high, and honestly, the game's kind of changing towards this style of play where everything's getting stretched. Because the quicker you can get that puck outside your zone, and the farther it is away from your net, the better it is, obviously, because you're trying to score. And you can't get scored on from the other end of the ice.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
But there's a few here, just some clips, and they're just stretching the puck, and they got puck support, and then they're getting a lot of chances off the rush, and that's was kind of the difference.
That's where the game is today, man.
Yeah.
I remember coaching, U18 AAA hockey, and it was like you always have to have that centerman that comes in low and slow on the breakout and all that, and then you want your wingers there in support. Now, we're just stretching two wingers.
Yeah.
And your centerman stays in the zone to help support the defenseman. But other than that, you're just stretching two guys, and the defensemen are just trying to find you.
Yeah, and you know what? The defense from the other team has to respect it, right?
That's
They
right.
have to back off.
That's right.
So then it allows more room, and for D to step up with the puck or get the puck to the centerman, which has a lot more room, Or it could be a straight stretch pass, or it could be a stretch pass to a tip inside the zone with more support. There's so many, and it's low risk.
Yeah.
It's a lot lower risk than a traditional breakout, right? So now,
cross-ice pass.
exactly. And there's one more thing. They were entering the middle of the ice well in the offensive zone, which is as soon as you enter the zone in the middle of the ice, you create so many opportunities, so many chances. So this example right here, middle of the ice, and you got four guys on the rush, and you know what? You're bound to score off those rushes, and if you're breaking out well, and then kind of doing this stuff, it's that's kind of why they're seeing success now.
It's things they were shying away from earlier on in the series, the things that had made them successful in the first three rounds that got them to the cup final. And they were it felt like at times they were just kind of relying on their skill.
Yeah.
And now they're back, right? I feel they're back. And I honestly feel, I said this from the beginning, Edmonton's got a shot here, man. It was 3-0 at one point, and only one team's done it in the history of the NHL, has come back from 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final. But I feel like Edmonton's got a real chance of doing it here. They're up 4-2 right now. They could bring the series back to Edmonton, 3-2. And if they keep doing the little things like you mentioned, Shell, man, this could be something.
Yeah.
We could be witnessing history.
What did I say? I think I said Florida in 5. Eh?
You said Florida in 6.
In 6?
I said in 6. So your prediction's still very much in play.
Yeah.
And I said Edmonton in 7.
I thought I said 5.
We could go back and check the tapes. That's guy Zach. Can you get on that, please? What was Shelley's prediction on last week's pod? But I'm pretty sure it was Florida in 6.
Stats guy
in
Zach's
6.
here. He's right there.
Oh, are you there, Stats guy Zach?
Hey.
What was the prediction? Okay, that's what we thought. Perfect. So there you have it. Stats guy Zach giving us the stats.
That's good. Good job.
Hey. Yeah.
Talk about our sponsor for this week.
Yeah, Player X is our sponsor. We're going to have a full-on ad with Player X, but I spotted him last week because obviously the Oilers jersey, ended up buying it, really good price. He made me a sweet deal on it, and it's a really fucking sweet jersey, so I just absolutely loved it. So I needed it. But Player X is, again, local business here in Kapuskasing, owned by Francis Lamontagne, who specializes essentially in sports memorabilia and stuff like that. So, but I'll before our special guest comes on, we'll do a full spot for him. The one thing, do you have anything else to add when it comes to the Oilers and the Panthers? Anything else, or did you cover everything?
No, that's it.
That's it.
That's all I got.
Okay.
I want them to win, man.
Edmonton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
And the
more this series goes on, the more I want it. The more
he wants them to win, though.
The more I want it.
The more he wants it. Yes. Okay.
I was gonna say
heck is
something,
going
but
on?
I'm not. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but it wouldn't be appropriate, so I won't say it. My wife wouldn't be happy if I said it.
Okay. Does she even listen to the pod?
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
I know she does.
Yeah. She makes sure I don't make a fool out of myself.
She made me oh shit.
Oh.
She made me a meatball sub. It was excellent.
Yeah, I had the same meatball sub.
It was very good.
Very good. little provolone cheese,
Yeah.
little meatballs, little marinara sauce.
I might poop myself later, but
Oh yeah. That's a problem for later, Shell.
that's a story for another time.
So the one thing, one new segment we haven't really done, and I think this is awesome because it's some of the things that we just we never kind of go back and remember, but at times, anyways. But basically, one of the segments I want to bring up was this day in sports history, and I actually found a website that has, if you go day by day in the calendar year, and it dates back to like the 1900s. Obviously, I didn't go that far back. A lot of the stuff is, and obviously, look, if this time of year, there is some baseball stuff in there. There was actually some NHL stuff when it comes to the draft on this day in hockey history. But I do want to go through this day in sports history. I do want to go through a couple of things, and we can touch on certain items.
You're really nailing this, but
Yeah, I'm struggling tonight. I've said that last week. I said that the week before. I don't know what the fuck. And everybody says I speak well, but I don't seem to be speaking that well right now. So,
wow, yeah.
it is what it is. This day in sports history, 1950, the Cleveland Indians score an American League record 14 runs in the first inning of a baseball game to beat the Philadelphia A's 21-2 at Cleveland Stadium.
14
runs in the first inning at home. 14 runs at home in the first inning. They won the game 21-2. 1950. 1967, that was a great year for Leafs fans. Jack Nicklaus shot a final round 65 and beat the tournament record 275 with a 4-stroke lead over Arnold Palmer, his longtime rival. In 1992, the Ottawa Senators made Peter, I'm going to say this wrong, Zadorkowicz, their first draft pick ever. He was a goaltender.
Okay.
We've never heard of him, so I would say that's a bust. In 2000, the 100th U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, Tiger Woods won his first U.S. Open major, and get this, okay, his first in 2000, recorded a record-setting 15-stroke lead over Ernie Els in 2000. I don't know how old he was. I don't have that number. Stats guy Zach, can you get on that for us, please? Sticking with the U.S. Open, 2017, Brooks Koepka won his first U.S. Open. And on this day last year, American outsider Wyndham Clark wins his first U.S. Open major. No, sorry, his first major, not U.S. Open, but it was the U.S. Open, but his first major. And any idea who he beat by 1 stroke?
Tiger?
Rory Tiger. He's been fucking irrelevant for 10 years.
Sorry, I wasn't really listening.
Last year.
No, but I wasn't listening to what you're saying.
Oh.
Yeah, I missed that whole thing.
2023.
I was in my head. I don't know where I was, but I wasn't listening to that.
2023, a year ago today.
Okay.
Wyndham Clark wins his first major.
Clark. I thought you said Ernie Els for some reason.
Ernie Els was the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jesus, you're listening to me. Wyndham Clark wins his first major by 1 stroke over Rory McIlroy. 2 years in a row, Rory loses the U.S. Open by 1 stroke.
Ugh.
And that was, when I read that today, I was like, what the sweet Jesus. Wow. Like, that is...
poor guy, man.
Yeah, that was... anyways, little segment there. This day in sports history. I thought that was kind of interesting, and I like doing that from time to time just because you kind of get to go back and see what's going on. So as we sit right now, we're doing this podcast. We're in the third period, Oilers and Panthers. There's about 13 minutes left. It's 4-3 Edmonton, and the Panthers are headed to the lethal power play. So... stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned.
Well, you guys are seeing it live, so stay tuned. We'll talk about it as it happens.
Yeah.
On the other side, we'll take a break. On the other side, we'll have our special guest segment for this episode, and it's going to be a great one. Looking forward to it. Hey, sports fans, are you looking to get closer to your favorite athletes? Look no further than Player X. At Player X, we specialize in athlete autograph signings, bringing you face-to-face with the stars of the game. But that's not all. We're your one-stop shop for sports memorabilia, featuring an incredible selection of items that any fan would love. Want to showcase your prized possessions? Our custom photo and jersey framing projects will make your memorabilia the highlight of any room. Based in Kapuskasing, Player X proudly ships across North America, even in Iceland. So why wait? Visit playerx.ca today and bring the excitement of the game into your home. Player X, your connection to the stars of the game.
Good job, Bots.
Yeah. So as you guys see in our center screen, this week's guest is a very special guest for the Coast to Coast podcast. He's been involved in the game of hockey for well over 30 years, dating back all the way to 1990. And, in various roles, director of player personnel, general manager, director of scouting, assistant general manager. He was an amateur scout with the Minnesota Wild in the early 2000s. And today he still has his company called North America Central Scouting Independent Bureau and is also the director of player personnel. Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Seidel.
Thank you, gentlemen. That made me feel very, very old. So I don't know if that was old, but that did make me feel old. But I guess I am old, so it makes sense. No, it's great to be here. I think you guys are doing a great job, so I'm happy to be on.
Thanks, Mark. Look, we'll jump right into it. I think the biggest thing that I wanna talk about, especially when it comes into you as a person and the role that you've played, such an important role when you look at young players and all that. But tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into scouting, how you got into the role that you've played at various levels. I mean, like I mentioned off the top, you did the NOJHL, the OHL, the NHL. Like, how did your career kind of progress in this role?
I was I would say a very average goaltender. Had some bad knees. Both my knees had a number of surgeries, so I was nowhere close to playing. But when I went to university in Ottawa, I decided to start North American Central Scouting, which at that point there was only really one or two others in the world that kind of did independent rankings and worked with NHL teams. So did that for a number of years, just trying to create our own rankings so that, at that point it was certainly very financially beneficial. It was good because you get 3 or 4 teams to send you to a tournament and make some money. And so we did rankings, and kind of what we sort of at that point said is we're kind of that 31st NHL team, or, that team. People can look at our rankings, and we rated the players how we thought. I had guys around the world that at that point, certainly some guys that, I didn't know a lot of people. So some of the people I got on were certainly new and fresh. But so we did that for a number of years. And then I got into the NOJHL. Became a general manager in Eskimo. I'm from Eskimo. Eskimo was my hometown. So we ended up GM there, and then GM in Sudbury with the Northern Wolves. And then what else? I guess from there, Owen Sound, Mike Fuda is a big mentor of mine. Mike Fuda, people may know, as the assistant GM in LA when they won a couple of cups. And Fuchs was a guy that brought me into the OHL, the first guy that brought me into the OHL. So taught me lots. Within a year or two, I was a head scout there. I left there to go to Erie as the assistant GM under Sherwood Basson. Again, people that know junior hockey would certainly know Sherwood, and he's been around a long time, won some Memorial Cups, and Bass brought me in. The theory being for 1 year, and then he was going to move upstairs to be the president of hockey ops, and I was going to take over, be a GM, which, up to that point, and quite frankly, still it was a goal of mine to be a GM in the OHL. Left there, bounced around a little bit, had some personal stuff go on it, and I ended up in Niagara, scouting again, ended up in charge of scouting. In the middle of that, I ended up in Minnesota for a year. And as happens in this business, I scouted Ontario for the Minnesota Wild. Dougie Riseborough was our GM, and as happens, your GM gets fired, and then the rest of you get fired. So we all got fired, and Niagara and now Barrie. I was a commissioner of the NOJHL for a year. Certainly Rob Mazuka, as I always tell him, has done a hell of a lot better job than I ever did. That was for sure. So yeah, I kind of done it all. Really, it's been it's, as I said earlier, it makes me feel old, but in some ways you look back and there's lots of experience, lots of good people. And, the biggest thing for me, I guess, and that's why I'm a fan of what you guys are doing is, I really am an advocate of Northern Ontario and the kids in Northern Ontario. I've always tried to pump them hard. in terms of getting them recognition, because it doesn't necessarily always happen. Sheldon and I worked together with Team NOHA with the 2003 group. We're the only team that beat Don Mills with Shane Wright and those guys. So yeah, it's been a long career. Certainly, always in the game, and evaluating has always been something I really like. So that's kind of how it's gone. And like you say, now in Barrie, and trying to win a Memorial Cup in Barrie. So that's where we are.
Right on. Go ahead, Butts.
No, sorry, I didn't know if you had a question there, Shell.
I do, but I thought you did too, so we were both looking at each other.
No. Look, this is our first segment. We recorded, for those that are listening, we recorded our main podcast together yesterday. Sheldon took off this morning, drove all the way to Detroit, Michigan. So this is our first time we're kind of separated from each other. So
our communication's
apologize for
not.
yeah.
No,
we're gonna work on that.
No, for me, Mark, just talk about your time. Like, and I know, like, in the game of hockey too, like a lot of personal stuff goes on in the game, but just talk a little bit about your experience with the Minnesota Wild and how that was.
It was good. It's like anything. When you grow up, you want to play in the NHL. And I think probably all of us, and certainly you two and myself and most people are listening, at some point when you're a kid, that's what you want to do. And as I said, I certainly didn't have the talent, and obviously I didn't have the knees for it either. So, the next best thing is to try to get into some form of management or coaching. And, I've spent time coaching over the years. I don't have the patience, and, I know Sheldon better than I know, almost a lot of people, and I just don't have that patience. So I realized soon that coaching wasn't going to be it. So it became hockey management. And, once I get in the OHL, as I said earlier, Mike Feuda was a huge mentor of mine and showed me the ropes and stuff. And then I went to the Erie of the Bass in Minnesota, came calling and interviewed with them, and they needed someone to cover Ontario, and I did it. It's like anything else. You get that. I always remember when I got the card from Gary Bettman, you get an NHL ID card and stuff, and I kind of thought, Jesus, this is kind of, it's not as good as playing, but it's certainly like your first game kind of thing. And it was a great experience. I met a lot of great people, guys that I still stay in touch with to this day. But it's a very difficult, and I hate to use the word slimy business, but it's tough. It's, if you're the best scout in the world, all you're getting is a 3-year contract. And if your GM gets fired during that 3 years, you're probably not getting another contract, and you're going to bounce to another team. And, with us, Doug got fired. Doug Riseborough was our GM and got fired. And, so we all ended up getting fired and moving on. And, I guess I'll just quickly address it. I mentioned some personal issues at that point. I got hooked on OxyContin in the year 2001, and was a heavy addict up until 2012. So that kind of got in the way too of, after Minnesota to bounce back, and I was so caught up in that kind of addiction stuff. I got over it in 2012. But but Minnesota was great. You know what? It's funny though. It really is, guys. Like when I first get into the NOJHL, you kind of think, man, this is, and you guys might have this experience, but you get in, you're like, geez, this is junior hockey. This is going to be amazing. These are amazing people here. I watched when I was a kid, right? Mm-hmm. You get there in a couple of weeks and you're like, yeah, I don't know. These guys aren't, like, there's some clowns in this place. Like, really? Yeah. Okay. And then you get in the OHL and you're like, oh, this is the OHL is the best development league in the world. And it's kind of the same. And you get to the NHL, and of course you're thinking, well, this is the best of the best. And there's guys there that, really, I don't think were great evaluators, but they knew people. But at the same time, there were a lot of great people that, had a great career in scouting and stuff. So you try to learn from them. But it was you learn very quickly. How can I say this? We used to do our rankings for North American Central Scouting, but it became so much more in depth. And, this is back in 04 and 05, but, the contracts they were giving kids, you had to do so much digging on them in terms of talking to guidance counselors and stuff. And you realize how in depth the process is. It's not just a matter of, fans tune into the draft and see guys get picked and, that guy, that's a terrible pick. Like, they don't understand how in depth it gets. And I learned a lot from it. I met some great people, and but it was certainly fun. And I'd like to get back there at some point in time. I think I'd like to be a GM in the OHL first. But again, it's the greatest league in the world, and ultimately, like everybody else, winning Stanley Cup was a goal. And we didn't obviously do it in Minnesota, but hopefully next time.
Absolutely.
The one thing too. Oh, sorry. Go, Shell. Go ahead.
We're like, our communication's way off there, Potts.
Yeah.
Just in terms of scouting, what goes into it? What are you looking for in, say, a 15-year-old for the OHL draft? And obviously, you're looking at them before as well. But what are you looking for, and how do you kind of find those players that are going to be, because you know what, like it seems to be a really tough job to find, players, and you see in basically the top 20 in the OHL draft, a lot of them don't end up making the NHL, right? So
Yeah.
what goes into that process?
Well, I always tell people, and I talk to a lot of young people and stuff, and scouting is like any other skill, right? The more you do it, the better you get. The old 10,000 hour analogy that they use for any kind of skill that you want to perfect. And, when I started, I still have all the stuff from when I started in 90 and 91. And, back then you're young and you think you're the smartest guy in the world and you know everything. And I look back at those reports and I'm like, oh my God, was I brutal? Like, not a clue. You know what I mean? Because you're just young and you're just trying to figure it out and you think but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And, when you do 34 years like I have, I guess theoretically I should be better. I should probably be way better than I am. But, the biggest thing, honestly, when I talk to young people is the hardest thing for us to find, and Sheldon may have, I think I probably used this on our group with the O3s that year, but the hardest thing for me to find with Marty Williamson as our coach and GM in Barrie. And if Marty says to me, Sides, go and get me, I need a small skilled centerman. Off the top of my head, I could give him 55 small skilled centermen that are in the draft. Okay. He says we need a big defensive D. I could give him 25 off the top of my head. If he says, Sides, get me a guy who plays every shift like his hair is on fire, like his balls out every shift, I could maybe find 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. Just a quick story. A couple of years ago, I found, I like my teams to be big and physical and tough and rough and hard on the opponents. And so a couple of years ago, before the season started, I said to guys on our staff in Barrie, I said, listen, we've got our lists and stuff, and we're going to have a list of different categories, but we're going to have a list called Warriors. And that is, if you see a guy that plays at the same kind of thing, plays like his hair is on fire, finishes every check, will block a shot with his face, will do anything to win. We put him on that list because we've got to get some of these kids into our organization because we're too soft and we're a little too GTHL centric and too many rich kids that, want to score but not do the other things. So we got to the end of the year and the day before the draft, we sat in, we had our meetings, and I asked people, how many people do you think we had on the offensive forward list? I think we had 37, 38 guys we were considering drafting. So if we're looking for an offensive forward, 37, 38, the whole year, in terms of finding Warriors, we had 6 guys on that list. And I tell young people, and especially kids in the North here, like, you can't control whether you're going to get on a power play. Like, that's up to the coach. And that's, you really, you do everything you can, but at the end of the day, it's his decision. The only thing you can really control is how hard you work. And I can promise you, if a kid works hard every shift, he will get seen and will get found, because those are the hardest things for us to find. And I tell young people that, and they kind of roll their eyes and they think, well, I got to score 40 goals. We could always care less about stats. Doesn't mean anything. But, and you guys see it certainly in the Great North Midget League at times. If you get a kid that plays hard, and, the Dubowski kid a couple of years ago from Sudbury here, we drafted him. And same thing, like, he's not the brightest kid in the world, but he'd stop a shot with his face. He'd hit. Those guys are hard to find. And I tell kids, like, if, maybe you're not the most blessed, gifted kid offensively or skilled, but if you work hard, you will find a way. And our league in the OHL is, there's so few of those guys around that's the one thing kids can do. And I think that's a key. And then in terms of the overall scouting kind of picture, I think it's so much more than just watching a kid on the ice. As I always tell people, like, my girlfriend could go watch some of these first rounders and realize that the kid's a hell of a player. But it's the digging afterward, talking to the trainer. Listen, is the kid a dick or is he a good kid? Talking to the equipment guy. Is he a guy that's a pain in the ass, or is he a guy that helps pick up stuff? And you talk to the guidance counselor. Listen, is this kid in your office every second week because he's in shit all the time? Or is he, is he a good kid helping out and volunteering? So there's a lot more that goes into it, because you're trying to identify the good person along with the talent, because there's lots of talent, but there's not a lot of good talent with good people. So it's sort of a long-winded answer, but that's kind of the summation of it.
And
I think, sorry, I just want to, sorry, Shal, I just want to mention one thing, because I know that, you mentioned those Warrior guys, and I was on the OHL Cup Team NOHA staff this year with Doug Saunders, who was our head coach. Yep. And Doug puts a lot of emphasis on, the big dog of the game. That's like his, we had the dog collar and the big chain, or whatever. And we had 2 kids in particular that, and with all due respect to those kids, they were not necessarily the most skilled, but they had the hearts of warriors, like you said. And, it was made very clear to them that, hey, look, like, you guys are going to be out there first, PK1, every time. And they just put like, it was like balls to the wall every fucking time they were on the ice. And I was like they was fun to watch, and they were, they were outmatched on in most games, because we played one game in particular against Barry, and Barry was a dog this year, right? They were heavy, and they played well, and those kids, on the PK, they just didn't care. It's some of our star, I call them our star players, but our more skilled players got a little starstruck by the Barry Colts U16 team. Not these two kids. They just went balls out every shift. And I was like, this to me is what hockey's all about at times, right? Yeah, you need those guys that are going to go to the dirty areas and score those goals. Yeah, you need the skilled guys, but you need the guys, look at Zach Hyman in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's not Connor McDavid, but I mean, he's having just as much success as him because he's willing to do the little things that are needed in order to be successful. So I like that you mentioned that, Mark, and thank you for those, every single one of those kids that's out there that doesn't have all the skill in the world. It doesn't mean that just because you don't have all that skill that you just don't have a chance at making it to the next level, right? So,
and just to add on to that, I mean, I was at that game, and for 2 periods, you guys were right in that game with Barry, and Barry, beat up on a lot of teams throughout the year because they were stacked, and the players from all over the province. But the thing is everybody, doesn't matter. Even when Connor McDavid was drafted to our league, he was obviously a really good player, but he had to improve a ton. So we can, in our league, we know we get a guy here and we've got to get him up to here. But so if we draft a skill guy that doesn't work at all, it doesn't matter how skilled he is at this point. It's still not skilled enough to be an impact guy in our league. But if you get a kid that's here, is even lower skill wise, but he's going to work his bag off every shift, he's going to get to here. So that's like you say, that's the hardest thing. And I know the kids you're talking about, and parents get caught up in points and assists. And, oh, my kid, the old adage, if we lose 6-3, but my kid has 3 points, I'm happy. I'm just telling people, and whether they believe me or not, those are the guys, those dogs that you're talking about, those guys that are warriors. They're hard to find. And like you say, Zach Hyman, I know Zach way back. His dad's a friend of mine, and this was a guy that was not skilled at all, quite frankly. I mean, he played tier 2 and ended up going to Michigan, but he scored this year because he does all the things nobody else will do. And if kids would recognize that and understand that, and parents would understand that, those are the kids that have success. And I thought you guys did a really good job with that team this year. Certainly Barry was loaded, but I thought you had a really good tournament. And we're right in it this year. But those guys were very important, like you say, because a lot of those high-end teams down south don't like getting hit. They don't like physical teams. And you guys laid to them a little bit, and I thought they backed off. So I thought it's a really good point you made.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for me, talking about kind of the dog mentality, and and those players that kind of just work, and one player that came to mind right away when you said that, Mark, was Max McHugh. He wasn't even on the radar when he was on Team NOHA when we coached him, and then all of a sudden he's getting all this attention, and then now drafted to the NHL. And honestly, he just didn't give a shit and just worked. And you know what? Pucks bounced off of him. He was kind of had that Zach Hyman effect, and and then he worked, and then he got skilled.
It's funny. Sorry, go, Schultz.
No, yeah, just one last thing. It just, and I think sometimes that's what parents don't understand when their kid's about the 15-year-old range, and they're like, oh, why is that kid getting drafted instead of my kid? And like, scouts are not dumb. They see things, and like they watch you in the dressing room, well, not the dressing rooms, but in the lobbies and things like that, and and just see the way you work, your work ethic, and they talk to everybody, and like there's sometimes you scout based on potential and work ethic, right?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Max McHugh and that team in NOHA, we had the 03s. I mean, we named him the captain, and I'm not, I don't know if you remember necessarily. I got more of it than probably you, the coaching staff, did. But you had some parents saying, like, "What are you doing here?" Like, we had Chase Stillman, NHL, ended up being an NHL first rounder. We had Jack Mateer, we had Giroux. Like, we had a lot of high end guys, but we just decided that Max was the guy that was going to lead our team. Certainly not in the same skill level as those other kids, but like you say, his OHL career, he went to London and sort of was grinding it out, and then drafted San Jose. They didn't sign him, but now Columbus has signed him to a contract, and it's exactly that. I mean, at the Memorial Cup, he has a fight with a kid beats a kid up, and it goes viral around the world. But I mean, this is a kid that we knew when he was 14 was that way, and his dad's an Espanola guy, so we grew up together actually. So,
Okay.
but exactly, like that was something where people were. Some of the dads I can think of in particular were very aggravated that how come you put McHugh as a captain, he shouldn't be an A, and we just said we don't care. Kyle Brick said he was our head coach, and we just said that's how it's going to be. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it all pans out here, and you see that Max worked at it and did all those things that you need to do, and now he's got a pro contract. So,
yeah.
You mentioned the San Jose Sharks, Mark, and my next point is, you mentioned before we came on to the show, you're heading to Vegas for the NHL draft in a few weeks here. And obviously, it's going to be a pretty monumental draft. First of all, it's going to be the last NHL draft that's done in person, right? It's going to be probably the biggest location that the NHL could have possibly found in the world right now is at the Sphere in Vegas. So that'll be exciting, number one. But number two is that you have, you mentioned, like I said, you mentioned the San Jose Sharks, and then they have not necessarily a local boy, but kind of a local boy with, I think there's family ties there when it comes with I think his old man works for the Sharks organization, I believe as a scout, if I'm not mistaken. But talk to us a little bit about the number one consensus pick, Macklin Celebrini, what you've seen of him and how you think he compares to, say, the Connor Bedards of the world when he gets into the NHL.
Well, Celebrini's dad actually works with the Golden State Warriors in basketball.
He's that's what it was.
Yeah. But again, that same area, obviously California and stuff, and that kind of stuff. And again, obviously this kid is a very special player. And it's a tough time because the media and I do this 360 days a year, and they want to kind of pump everybody up. Doesn't matter what year it is and what they are, and they want to talk about how great these players are. And we obviously just saw Connor Bedard, so it's like, Jesus, he's Connor Bedard. He's not Connor Bedard. There's not a lot of guys that are Connor Bedard. I mean, Connor Bedard, quite frankly, was probably the most gifted guy to come into the draft since McDavid. There's been a lot of gifted guys, but Celebrini is a notch below that, but not far. I go back to the Lafreniere Byfield year. Celebrini would be number one. I mean, he'd be number one almost any year except for the Bedard year. I really equate him to Jack Hughes. Kind of that's kind of who he is. In that he's a very skilled guy, makes plays. But it's funny in this sport, guys, like, we watch all the sports and stuff, basketball and football and all this other stuff. And it just seems that throughout history, all of the historically great players have been great people. Think of, Gordie Howe, certainly before our time or my time, but Gretzky, Lemieux, or like the great people that get it, Sidney Crosby, and Celebrini's right in that same line. Like, this is a kid that doesn't think he's better than anybody. He works as hard as anybody else. I was in Boston this year and watched him practice a little bit. And I mean, again, I talk about a guy that goes, this kid's uber talented, one of the most talented kids in the world, but he also works hard every shift. It's funny, guys send me rankings, because when I started, there were 2 or 3 of us, and now it seems like there's 3,000 independent people and guys sitting in their basement putting rankings out, which, don't get me started, drives me insane. And somebody just sent me a thing an hour ago and said, oh, look, this guy's got Celebrini at 2. And I'm just like, whatever. I mean, it's stupid. It's just a silly, silly thing, because this kid is by far better than anybody else in this draft. And,
who would they have at
John
one?
G. He has Demidov, the Russian kid.
Okay.
But it's asinine. It's just somebody trying to put something on Twitter or wherever he puts the stuff, and you get people to talk. But it's, when you do this every day, it just kind of annoys you, because you're just like, it's stupid. I was like, I think there were a couple of people who had Bedard at 2 too. It's just trying to make names for themselves. But Celebrini's a guy, San Jose's kind of a near and dear to my heart, because John Chichu's my ex-wife's kind of nephew. So there's a tie-in. And I'm John when John was 6 years old and all the way up and stuff. So San Jose's always been kind of one of those teams that I hold close to my heart. And
former Kapuskasing Flyer as well, John.
That's right, exactly. Undrafted. Again, I used him as
undrafted.
Went through his OHL draft year, didn't get drafted, 15 rounds. And then went to Kitchener next year and went 5th overall to Belleville. But this kid's going to be special. They're a bad team. They've got some good young talent in there. It's going to take a little bit of time, just like Chicago with Bedard. But again, he's a notch below Bedard, but he's above almost every other first rounder in the last probably 10 or 15 years.
I got one more question, and I think this is really intriguing, and just to kind of get the behind the scenes look from a scout's perspective. And I want to go back a couple of years to the Montreal draft floor, when Shane Wright was the consensus number one pick, or at least most people had him at consensus number one. Like, explain to me, and this is more me as a hockey guy wanting to know the answer mark is, Wright is supposed to go number one. Then they had Slavkovsky that was, potentially maybe one, maybe two. And then, Fantilli, and, the list goes on and on. I forget the one kid from Arizona who ended up going there. I forget his name, but he was a stud as well. He's still a stud.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking Logan Cooley.
Cooley. Yeah. Right. So, and then all of a sudden Shane Wright drops to 4. Like, how does that happen on the NHL draft floor where there's a almost consensus number one for the last almost 2 years? And then all of a sudden the kid goes and ends up at 4. Is this and look, and I don't know Shane Wright from a hole in the ground, but is this one of those cases where, you talk about good people? Like, and again, don't want to put, you in a spot where you're saying that Shane Wright's not a good person. That's not what I'm saying. But is this one of those cases where they just, the interview process just didn't go in Shane Wright's favor, or the scouts saw something else in those other 3 players that just, Wright just ended up getting dropped down a little bit?
It's a great question, first of all, because it is interesting, and I actually don't get asked a lot about it. So it really is. It kind of highlights for me, when we're going through the process of the public sphere, the Craig Buttons of the world, and the guys, the 7,000 people on Twitter that have all their own rankings and stuff. And because Shane had come in his exceptional status into the OHL, one of, I think, 6 or 7 now that have gotten that, he was just kind of thrust in to be, he's going to be the number one guy. And that year, at the end of the year, we had Shane Wright number 4 on our list. And his agent was very, very upset with me, because around the draft, around this time, I do, a lot of media, I do the NHL Network and stuff like that. And it just became a case of, like, in the scouting world, everybody was shocked that night, but the rest of us really weren't that shocked, because at some point in time, it just becomes who's a better player. We had Slavkovsky 1, and that's where he went 1. We had Wright 4, and Seattle didn't think any chance of getting Wright, and ultimately they ended up taking him. But what happened with Shane Wright is he didn't have a very good draft year, and everybody wanted to make excuses and stuff like that. One of the other aggravations I had is everybody said, well, he's not scored a lot, but he's Patrice Bergeron. And I think at the end of the year, I think he finished 9th in plus minus in his team, and I just said, like, Patrice Bergeron didn't finish 9th in his team, in junior hockey. I remember me junior, so. It was one of those where the public all thinks they know what's going on, but they really don't know. And, if you don't go see him play all the time, I mean, there's lots of nights I would go and you just go, he's just a guy out there. Like, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not a guy that pulls you to your seat. You watch Slavkovsky at the World Championships against 30-year-old men, he's pulling you to your seat. And I know Montreal's taking a lot of heat, and we'll see how this all works out and stuff. But, as far as Shane as a kid, again, I've known him forever. And Sheldon, he was on that Don Mills 03 team as an 04, but, he was a really, really good kid. And I'll tell you something that doesn't go unnoticed. If people remember, and maybe I'm getting into the weeds here, but when Montreal took Slavkovsky, and then when Shane Wright went to Seattle, he sort of gave a dirty look to the Montreal table.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like an insight into, hang on, like, this kid now is starting, he's starting to read his own press clippings a little bit here. Like, he's mad that he didn't go, why didn't you look at teams picking 2 and 3? They didn't pick you either. And I think that it's just the public kind of has sort of one way, and it just becomes consensus, and everybody puts it out. And when we put him at 4, like I said, his agent, Cam Russell, was not a happy man. And Cam's a tough man, so it was a little interesting. But, we got him at 4, and that's where we just evaluated him. And I told Cam, I don't have anything against Shane Wright. He's been fine. He's a very good player. But at the end of the day, that's where, we ended up being proven right thus far. And we'll see what happens in 5-6 years. I mean, Shane Wright right now is in the Calder Cup final for Seattle American League team. And he's just, at the end of the day, he's not going to be a prolific offensive guy. He's solid defensively, but I mean, again, at 1 overall, you don't want to take a guy who's good defensively and put, has some offense. So it's a really good example. It's the best example I can give probably in 20 years of where everybody in the public sphere thought it was going this way. And the rest of us were like, Logan Cooley's a way better offensive player than Shane Wright is, and it wasn't even close. So, it was an interesting case. And like I said, we'll see how it all works out. Everybody wants to say, oh, well, you were right. You had him at 4. Well, not right. We'll see in 10 years when we're right. I mean, that's the thing with scouting. You can think you're right because an NHL team agreed with you, but it doesn't matter if in 10 years Shane Wright's, going to the Hall of Fame and Slavkovsky's back in the Czech Republic, then Seattle was right and we were wrong. So we'll see. But yeah, it was a very interesting case, and he just had so much publicity over the years about him. And just sort of one last point, because I know I'm rambling here, but the other thing I've heard, and because nobody's ever really asked me what this question is, the consensus was, well, Shane Wright didn't play during COVID, and all these other kids went over to Europe and did stuff, and that's what really hurt him, and that's why he fell to the floor. It's completely untrue. What happened was, and again, you don't, but the under 18s, he played as an underage in Dallas, Texas, with Chase Stillman and some of the guys that we had talked with, Jack Mateer, and he was phenomenal. Led the tournament, scoring, dominated, and then didn't get drafted till the year after. So it wasn't a matter of not playing COVID. It was just a matter of, at the end of the day, everybody gets better, and he just wasn't the best player in the draft. And ultimately, that's 3 other teams agreed with that, and we'll see how it works out for him.
I think just before Sheldon goes off, the one thing I can go back to that day, and I remember watching that draft like it was yesterday. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Draft Day with, I think it's Kevin Costner.
100 times I watched it.
Right? Like, and it just made me think, and I remember the guy's name, Bo Callahan, was the quarterback. And I remember that day I was like, this is like fucking Bo Callahan getting just shifted down every pick. And then everybody's like, why isn't this fucking kid getting drafted now? Right? Like, everybody's starting to question now, like, did we miss something? And anyways, and ended up being, a lot lower. But I did think, I was like, man, this is almost like a movie. They can almost make a movie from this guy who thought he was going to be number one because he was in exceptional status and all that. And I was looking forward to asking you that question, because I've always thought it was an intriguing point when it comes to, you never know where you're going to go until your name is called on the draft day, right? So on the draft floor. So
it's funny, Draft Day. I've watched it 100 times. I love the movie. I've never put that together, but you're right. It's exactly it.
Yeah.
In that movie, everybody thought he was the number one. He was a star quarterback, and same as Wright. But like I said, NHL teams when he didn't go 1, I thought he was going to go to 5. I really did, because Seattle was set on taking Simon Nemec. But anyways, when Wright was there, they took him. But yeah, it's just, that's why at this time of year, even you see some of these rankings and stuff, and everybody goes in one way, and it's not necessarily the way it's going to go. Because teams don't care what the public thinks, and teams go, it's a terrible pick. You have no idea what you're talking about. You can sit in your basement and say terrible pick, but there's been 8, 9, 10 months put into this for teams, and they didn't just get up in the morning and go, we're going to go this way just for fun. Mm-hmm. Like, this is huge business. So yeah, it was interesting for sure. It's a good question though.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. So obviously we have Northern hockey players in our heart, me and Potsy, and obviously you as well, being from the North. And obviously you were the commissioner of the NOJHL for 1 year, you said?
Yeah. A year and a bit.
Okay. Yeah. So what do we have to do in the North to give our kids a better chance to make it to the next level?
Boys.
Yeah.
How much time do we got? We could do a couple hours here. And,
Hey, we got time. Yeah. We got time.
Yeah, no, it's it's funny because, again, Sheldon, we worked on Team NOHA, and the fact they gave me that team to run was a small miracle, because I've argued and fought with them a lot over the years because I don't think they do things right. And then that year, I thought we had great success, but that was the end of my run there. And there's a lot of issues that happen, right? Last year with the 08 group, for example, I sat down and I studied and I looked at it. There were 24 kids from Northern Ontario that played AAA in the last 2 years up here, whether it be minor bantam or major bantam, that had gone south or to the States. 24 kids. I mean, that's a lot of kids, right? I mean, the odd crazy parent wants to go south. You're like, okay, it happens. You're not going to change it. But it's like, I always equate it to running a business. If 24 people are saying your business is terrible, I don't want to shop at your store anymore, you better look in the mirror. At some point, it's not everybody else, it's you. What do we need to do? We need to be able to put the effort and time into it. The NOHA in some regards, and there's some good people there. I'm not trying to rip anybody, and I like the people there generally and stuff, but they want to be everything to everybody, and they kind of talk on both sides of their mouth. They want to support the elite players in Northern Ontario, but in some ways they don't do it. They're more concerned about the house league rules and stuff like that, and that's all important too. But you have to create an atmosphere where kids are going to get seen and where they're going to get good coaching. It's no secret in Toronto. A guy went in this year. You talked about Barry. A guy went in there, and I don't want to get into names, but made over $100,000 coaching that team. Up here, people are like, if a guy makes $5,000, they're upset because the guy made $5,000. But elite players certainly need to play with other elite players. So I think there has to be some approach to try and get these kids to play together more often. And you have to create an environment where high-end kids want to stay. And like I said, of those 24, I think there were 13 or 12 that were drafted. So, I like your team that went to the OHG or sorry, the OHL Cup this year. You had, I think we just have 20 players or 18 players, I think 19, something like that.
19, yeah.
I think based on our rankings in Barrie, and that we're certainly not the smartest guys in the world, but you would have had 5 guys off that team that you had that would have been on the team had all 24 of those kids stayed in the North. So think about how much better that team would have been. And that's not a knock on those kids that made the team. I mean, they did, but you had guys going to Pittsburgh and guys going to Toronto and all over the place.
Barrie.
And I think the NOHA they kind of lay it at the association feet. And they say, well, it's up to in Sudbury here. We've got a real battle because they want to have 2 AAA teams, and we don't barely have enough to have 1 AAA team. You guys up in Cap and stuff do it right. The Cap Flyers are kind of the big show. Then the Hearst Lumberjacks are kind of the big show, and there's not that infighting. But the NOHA wants to sit back and go, what's up to the association to figure this out? Well, it really is. You have to take a leadership position here. And you have to create a place where kids feel like and parents feel like their kids are going to get seen, get the exposure they want, get the coaching they want.
So to you, what does that entail? Yeah, to you, what does that entail? Is
I think you have
getting
to,
us
first of all,
more tournaments? Is it like playing in a Southern Loop? Is it?
Yeah, I think some of it might be playing in the Southern Loop. I don't, they've always fought that. I'm not sure why they fight that as much. The biggest thing, like when parents come to me and say, where should my kid play? And it's almost any age, quite frankly. But the most important thing is if they're going to play and they have good coaching. And what I found in Northern Ontario, and you guys can speak to this because this is right down in your alley here, but like high-end coaches and good coaches, at some point you're just like, why am I doing this? Like Jordan Chichu, again, obviously he's sort of my nephew. He coached a couple of years of the U16 team here in Sudbury. Didn't have a kid. And just constant criticism. This is a kid that played in the OHL. Brother played in the NHL, won a Rock Richard trophy. I think he's a good young coach and got nothing but criticism and got no support. And it's like, why am I going to do this? So you end up with guys coaching who have a kid involved or something like that, where the NOHA's got to put together something and say, listen, we're going to put some resources. It's not always about money, but if I'm going to give up 4 days a week practice and every second weekend be on the road and trying to make these kids the best, they have to give these coaches the resources and support. I don't think they do a good enough job of that. And they have to create a program. Every year it seems like, is the Sioux going to have a U16 program or not? Last year at this time they thought they were going to, and then they decided not. And 9 or 10 of those kids that went to the All Ontario final in Major Bantam left to go to Pittsburgh and everywhere else because there's uncertainty. And the Great North Midget League, you guys, and not you guys. I mean, I know you certainly do work there, but the Great North Midget League, sometimes it's not sure if there's going to be a North Bay team or is there going to be a Sioux team. Sudbury's pretty standard, but I just think there's so much uncertainty. The parents get these teams down south. They're not stupid either. They see a good kid, and there's a bunch this year again. Where they say, listen, we're going to recruit this kid. They're going to tell you, you stay in Northern Ontario, you're not going to get seen. Well, I can tell you, these kids in Northern Ontario get seen a lot, but they have to create a system where the parents believe in it, the kids stay, and they get a good coaching. And I just think the NOHA sort of takes an arm's length view of things. Even with Team NOHA with the U16, the OHL Cup team, what you guys had last year, I don't know. At some point, and I've been there in Shelton when we had the team. Well, you got to roll 4 lines. Well, it's not about rolling 4 lines because when you play the Barrie Junior Colts, they're not rolling 4 lines. They're there to win the thing. And so it's kind of a mindset. And I don't want to take complete shots at those guys because I know they're trying at some point. But
I see it both ways for Team NOHA too. Like seeing, like putting, it's not basically rolling 4 lines. It's putting those kids in a position to be successful. Obviously, if a kid's not a power play player, he's not going to benefit from having power play minutes, right? Like, so again, rolling, I believe in it, but more so putting those players in a position where they're going to be successful. They're going to be able to showcase what they're all about, Yeah.
We talked, sorry to interrupt, Shel, but you talked earlier about the 2 dogs that you had in the team last year. Like those were guys, like you said, as soon as the ref's arm went up and you guys were getting a penalty, those guys jumped the boards. They knew what they were doing.
Oh, they knew.
You guys were on the power play. They didn't look to jump the boards. They knew, okay, I got a roll here, and we're going to do it really well. And they did that really, really well. And I thought it was exceptionally well done. But that's sort of the exception, and it hasn't been the rule necessarily.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, we had a chat with the NOHA, like, and the guys that are in charge of that is, what do we got? And all it was is we just want to make sure everybody has, been put in situations like Sheldon said where they're being successful. Well, I'm sorry, but our better offensive guys need to be on the power play to showcase that skill. And our dogs, and I'm not afraid to mention their names, like, Goulet and Niscazo were dogs, right? And they were like they're really good players, really good AAA players, and I'm sure they're going to go on and have pretty solid junior careers. But they knew, and we had conversations with them. Like you said, as soon as the referee's arm went up, they knew it was their turn to get on the ice, right? And that's that was one step. And it's my first experience with Team NOHA, and I'm certainly hoping that I can join the staff again next year to go back there. And obviously, we're working with a different group every year, but just to continue the work that we put in this year with in the leadership of Doug Saunders, and I have all the respect in the world for Doug. I don't know if you know Doug at all, Mark, but
Much. I sort of watched it, at a distance with the job you guys did. And I thought you did a very good job. I mean, because we lost all those kids to the south, you
yeah,
had to try to make do with what you had. And I thought you really did a really good job with it.
yeah, very well organized coach. Like just he has his plan in place. He's not an X's and O's coach, but he's a very motivational coach with which I thought was when you have a team for such a short period of time, you can't start throwing down system stuff down their throat. They're just not going to absorb it all in the three practices that we had as a group, right? So it's just trying to get them to keep them motivated and all that. And anyways, I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing the work that we did this year. But you're right, it's making sure that we can try to put all of our kids in the same situation. And I had conversations with parents after the OHL Cup was done. The kids that were on our team. So, we talked about you mentioned the Sioux kids that ended up going all over the province and all over North America, really.
Yeah.
And talking to some of the parents that played with those kids, and it was like, man, like, we could have had them, but we'll call it the politics of hockey, I guess, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, prevented those kids from wanting to stay because they felt, and I'll be honest, I have a good buddy of mine who, he's from Northern Ontario, and he's taking his kids south next year. Like, and they're relocating, they're going south, and I'm like, fuck, like we're there, man. Like you got to believe in us, and they just feel like and I respect their decision, but they feel like going down to the GTHL or the OMHA is the best decision for their kid because that's where they're going to get drafted. And I'm like, I'm not going to necessarily argue with you. I can put up some solid points on both sides of the equation, but we need to do a better job in Northern Ontario 100% and making sure we can keep our local talent here in the north and they don't feel like they have to go to the GTHL or the OMHA or the US or wherever they have to go
Yeah,
in order to be recognized.
and we also have to prove that we can give them the development they need too, right? Like,
Yes.
so I think
Yeah.
that has to be done at a organizational standpoint, as a, like kind of working together and build a plan. I think that's one thing that I'd like to see in the North, whether it's the NOHA that does
Consistency
it.
too. You guys talk about like consistency.
Yeah.
So every year it's not somebody new. Mark Gagne was a guy that I've gotten to know, the GM of Espanola, and he was kind of the director of scouting, I think, for your team.
Yeah.
At one point it was, I think the thought was, and maybe correct me, but after the final of the Great North Midget League that night, they were going to announce a team, and the OHL Cup literally started the next day.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that to me, and I said, like, what, you got to name it like earlier so you can at least have some skates and stuff. And they ended up doing it, which is good. That's progressive. But if all you guys went back next year, you got the experience of this year, and you know what maybe didn't work and what did work. And every year it seems to be a new group and stuff. And I think to give people 3-year runs. Like if you had it this year, last year, and you and Doug in that group had it this year and next year, you guys would start to know, okay, this worked, this didn't work. But again, there's always politics and there's all kinds of stuff going on. But I just think we have to give parents an option of, as to why staying up here is good. And listen, there's a lot of downsides to kids going to the GTHL. I'm telling you, there's lots of kids who've gone down there who would have been, on when the power play went for you guys to the OHL Cup, they'd have been jumping the boards for sure. They're playing down in Don Mills. They're not touching the ice because they're on the third or fourth line or the sixth defenseman. So it's not always a panacea down there. But again, we don't do a good enough job of trying to explain that to these parents. They just think the GTHL is the answer, and that's what's going to happen. I can give them a list of kids that didn't get drafted. If they stayed up north, they would have been drafted. So, it's just it's a process.
You quickly become you quickly go from the big fish in a small pond to the small fish in a big pond,
Yep.
unfortunately, right? And that's the reality of it. And like you said, Mark, at times can be the politics or the downfall of hockey, not just in Northern Ontario, but across the country, and across North America. But we do the best that we can in the time that we have with those kids, and certainly I'm sure that. You see the quality in some of our Northern Ontario boys when you're scouting them and stuff like that. The way that they, a lot of scouts have told me like your Northern boys, they're like OHL ready when they get to like 15 because they've already had to move away from home. Some of these kids and they've had to billet in a house already, and sometimes they're already OHL ready in that sense, right? Mature in that sense. So
Yeah. And then the OHL, it's always been a way that teams want to draft Northern kids because generally kids in the North are good kids. And think of the Memorial Cup final. You had Max McHugh on one side, you had Lincoln Moore on the other side, and you had Manjoni on the other side. Three real important kids for those teams, and they're kids from the North here, in the biggest game and certainly tournament of the year in junior hockey. So I think Northern kids have a great reputation and stuff, but we have to find a way, like you said, to keep them up there.
yeah. Mark, I want to honestly say from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for taking the time. This has been a great interview, lots of insight, and obviously you can tell all of your hockey knowledge, wrapped up into a 40-minute segment here, 50-minute segment. So, on behalf of both of us, thanks for taking the time, and we look forward to getting you on to future podcasts, and maybe, you talk to us about your experience at the Sphere when you get down in Vegas there. So
yeah, no, it's been fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I think you guys do a great job, and I love the fact that you're trying to promote and help Northern Ontario, which is very near and dear to my heart. So keep doing what you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic. And certainly anything you need down the road, I'm happy to help. And we'll try to have some fun in Vegas. And I think we can probably find ourselves
maybe we should have like postponed the pod for 1 week. There we had you in Vegas.
Yeah,
one week tonight, I'll be in Vegas. That's true.
Right on.
Well, great guys. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Mark Seidel, Director of Player Personnel from the Barrie Colts and North American Central Scouting Independent Bureau. Thanks a lot, Mark. This has been a blast, and we'll get you on in the near future here.
Thanks, guys. Be good.
Cool. All right. Great interview with Mark Seidel, and thanks a lot, Mark, for that. Greatly appreciated. A lot of insight when we talk about, what scouts are looking for when it comes to youth hockey and all those types of things. So I hope that any youth that was listening that's looking at potential, playing potentially junior hockey, whether it be, junior A tier 2 or the OHL or any major junior league for that matter, gives you an idea of what scouts are looking for in certain players. So thanks a lot to Mark Seidel from North American Scouting and the that was awesome. I love having conversations with guys that are much more knowledgeable than guys like you and I are. I gotta ask Shell, like, what the fuck is going on with the wardrobe today, bud? Like, you look like a human mullet. I mean, it's like party on top, business in the middle, or the bottom. Like, what are you doing? What's the...
Okay, so I was at my niece's graduation, so I have a little bit of like
business cash
down there, and then I just wanted to throw on my Scoutaflak Acker hat.
Oh, you got the whole
the
whole outfit and everything. Why don't you show the people that are listening?
It's just a hat. But
okay. The Vikings.
Yeah. So that's gonna be my squad for next
awesome.
year. That's
cool.
The
as if they shipped up
Vikingar from Akerere.
I thought you had a T-shirt, but I thought maybe that was just like when you went up to Iceland that they gave you that T-shirt to. But no, they shipped up like some memorabilia.
No. I got it when I was there.
Oh, the hat too?
Yeah.
Oh, so they didn't ship shit up to you and say,
no,
welcome aboard, coach.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. They'll give me stuff when I'm there.
As usual.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Not maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, before before we jump into Shelly's stuff, and I thought this was kind of interesting, a lot of the stuff that he was showing me before we got on and recorded the podcast. I just want to touch a little bit about the Blue Jays a little bit more, take a couple minutes. Much better over the last couple of weeks, like I mentioned. I think it's been a few series now, and a huge series win over the weekend against, a much more well-rounded Cleveland Indians, or even they call that anymore? Is it? No, it's the Guardians now.
Guardians.
Sorry. I apologize. Cleveland Guardians team. Just one of those things where you just have a hard time getting away from history, right? Like,
Yeah.
but anyways, I understand why they had to change their name. But yeah, huge series win against the Guardians. Taking 2 out of 3 at Rogers Center. I actually bought my tickets today. I'm going to the game on Canada Day. I've mentioned that before. Section 117, row 1, right behind the Houston Astros dugout.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so I'm really excited to go there with my lovely wife. That'll be a great time, playing some golf while we're down there, and
Oh, nice.
that's a good stuff.
Where are you playing? You know?
Playing at Collingwood, so we're going to Montera and Duntroon in Collingwood. We're staying there for a couple days, and then we're going to head up to off the Bay, Georgian Bay, Cobble Beach.
Yeah.
So I've never been, but I've
Yeah,
heard.
me neither, but I want to go, yeah.
Yeah, so I got to say it's a little pricey, a little too pricey for my cheap.
Well,
price.
wait, play it, and then you can make a decision.
Oh yeah. It was,
Oi!
oh!
I
met my man. No, I'm sure it's. I'm sure
Did
it's
you
worth.
turn Italian? Well, you know,
A little Mexican, maybe.
I don't know.
I
That
met my man.
Patzian.
Yes. What language do you speak? Oh, I speak the
I
putz.
speak the Patzian.
I speak the putz.
the Patzian.
Anyways, so we're headed to Cobble Beach on that week of July 1st week, whatever that day is, and then we're gonna head home, grab the kiddos, just me and her. So, be some really good.
Time together.
There's another, yeah, sure, another really good time together. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, going back to the Blue Jays. So like they're turning it around. Are we seeing kind of like the Edmonton Oilers? Are they figuring it out here this season? And management, I was going to say the head coach, but they don't call it a head coach in baseball. The manager, John Schneider, has said, be patient. We're a better team than our record indicates. Are we finally starting to see a little bit of the turnaround, despite all the injuries that the Blue Jays have had here?
I hope so, but I don't think so. I think it's just kind of like a winning streak.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like they are winning against good teams, but I just can't see them kind of digging out of this hole. But I hope so. But they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't have them making the playoffs either at this point. I probably didn't have them making the playoffs before the season started anyways.
No.
But definitely not, sorry, I'm just pulling up the standings here, but the wild card standings as we stand today, the Blue Jays are 5 games out of the final wild card spot.
Okay.
So it's not insurmountable.
No, lots of baseball left.
But when we spoke last week at this time, and it's kind of weird because they have been relatively good, I feel, anyways. They won a few series in a row here. But they still seem to find a way to slip down the standings a little bit. So you need to win. It's a league where, and I think I've quoted this before, but as Josh Donaldson said back in 2015 when shit was hitting the fan up in Toronto, this is not the try league. This is the get it done league.
Get her done.
Get her done. And Vladdy and Bo, can't harp on the pitching staff. And you know what I found interesting last week was Chris Bassett coming out, and Gosman the next day basically saying, like, if we fuck up, we don't have a chance at winning because our offense is absolute garbage. And a lot of the pressure is put on the starting pitching right now.
Did they actually say that or what?
Yeah. Gosman said that there's a lot of pressure on the starting pitchers right now.
Okay.
Because if they make a mistake,
Yeah, they can't win.
there's basically no chance of them winning.
Yeah.
So if you come out and you lay an egg in the first inning and you allow, 5 runs, well, the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
The Blue Jays can't score 5 runs in a game. It's for a team that's supposed to be based on offense. And I'm sorry, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here,
Here we go.
but a 39-year-old Justin Turner, which I got all the respect in the world, I got all the time in the world for a guy like Justin Turner. But the Blue Jays, who are a team that is pretty financially wealthy, but at the same time always seemed to nickel and dime deals. And they could have had Cody Bellinger because he didn't sign until whatever late in spring training, whatever that was, September or February, sorry. And they didn't go, they didn't get him after they struck out on Shohei Ohtani. And their fallout plan was Justin Turner at 39 years old and $13 million.
He'd be good as like an extra if you had some.
He would.
Some more firepower, like if you got Shohei.
Well,
he'd be a good seventh hitter, like
you could have had, and I'm not saying that he's a better player than Turner, but defensively he definitely is you could have had Matt Chapman back for basically the same price and term. And he's younger, he's better defensively, and his hitting is probably, well, mind you, this year his hitting's a lot better than Turner's is, but it just, like, the decisions this management team makes with Atkins, and, well, Atkins I just feel at times, and I'm sorry, but, like, I just feel like he's a puppet for Shapiro. Like, when Shapiro came in, he said, no, what was it, Alex Anthopoulos, get the hell out of here, I'm bringing my own guy in, and he's going to do as I say, and it's just been subpar since then. They just had really good draft picks that those guys didn't even pick. It was Anthopoulos that picked Guerrero and Bichette and Biggio and
then he wins a World Series
in a different city.
Yeah.
Which with again guys that somebody else drafted, but that's nor here nor there. But
yeah.
Sometimes you have to be good to be lucky, and you have to be lucky to be good. I get that, but you have to make good decisions along the way. And I just feel like this management team has not made very good decisions, and I don't see them in the playoffs either, Joe. And I could see a complete fucking blow up here. They may blow this thing up at the end of the season, and that would be a real shame for Blue Jays fans across the country.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I haven't watched a game in a little while. I'm kind of like not very interested.
Well, and
it's
you're not the only one, right? Because I haven't watched. I follow them.
But I watched a game. They won 7-6 against Cleveland.
Okay.
I watched that game, and it was a good game. But like at the end, they're anyways. But like
at the end,
no lead that they have is safe. But like that was an okay game. Maybe I'll start watching again. But
no lead that they have is safe, and no comeback is on the table for them. Yeah. Like there was a couple of years ago, I remember Barrios laid an egg on it was opening day. It was like 6-1. I think they were playing Minnesota. It was like 6-1 first inning. Like they were getting destroyed. And this is a couple of years ago, so like they had better players, I felt, back then. Teoscar Hernandez, who they gave away for essentially nothing, who's now probably going to win a World Series with the Dodgers this year. They had the other guy, Loris Gurriel Jr. Depth, some really good depth players. They came back, they won that game, and you never felt like, even at 6-1, it was the first inning, first game of the season, you never felt like they were going to be out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the year where Vladdy came out and said last year was the trailer, this year is the movie, and they barely snuck into the playoffs, and then they got swept in the first round. So it was a really short-lived movie for Blue Jays that year.
Oh, yes.
And unfortunately, this year, I don't see the movie getting to the second chapter is the best way I can put it.
Wow, I think it's not even getting past the script stage.
We're not going to get it into production.
No.
It's not good enough. Not good enough. But anyways, yeah.
Not the best, huh?
Not the best, as Louis Domingue would say. And our good buddy, we never gave this guy a shout-out yet, and I know he does listen to the pod, but our buddy Justin Poitras in Ottawa.
Juice.
Big Juice. And I know he listens, and I know that he's a big fan of the not the best.
Not the best, huh?
Not the best statement. So had a good time with Juice at our buddy Jimmy's bachelor party a couple of years ago.
Did we?
Well, do you want to get into that bachelor party, or?
I don't know.
I'll just put it this way. I'll say one thing.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Shelley did not finish the Jays game at the Rogers Center.
Oh, yeah.
He finished it at Boston Pizza down the road.
Yes.
because he was, I don't want to say too intoxicated because I didn't think you were that drunk.
No. I was
But
okay. I was okay, but like
his chirping got the best of him.
I was chirping. I forget the guy's name, but I was chirping him in right field.
Hang on, I'm gonna Adam something. Adam something. I think I still have a video on it on my phone. Actually.
Anyways, yeah, I was chirping and
Adam
then
Eaton?
I got
Adam Eaton.
eaten.
Adam Eaton.
Adam Eaton. Poor guy. Sorry, Adam. I apologize.
Yeah, we gotta try to get Adam on the pod.
Yeah. Got enticed by some boys around. They're laughing, so I try to keep them laughing, and then excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Can you come with us, please? And there was like 6 cops around me.
Yeah, for a guy who was, again, we had drank a little bit.
Yeah, like we had beer all day.
But I've seen you in much worse shape than the time they got kicked out of the Rogers.
Yeah. But like, anyways,
And,
but then I was like, I'll go. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I left and I went to Boston Pizza and watched the rest of the game there. But it was all right.
And ate about 25 Bandera breads.
Oh yeah, those were good.
Shout out to Boston
Pizza, Bandera bread. If you're there next time, please get that.
Yeah. So that was a good time with one of our good road trips as a group, and we've had quite a few of them. So and more to come for sure. Shell, show us some of your highlights of the week that you've seen this week.
I got some good stuff for you, Potsy, buddy.
The World Wide Web.
So, first thing here, just on obviously on Twitter again, not Twitter, X. Speaking of X, speaking of Elon Musk, I took a ride in a Tesla.
Oh yeah, first time.
Second time, but
Okay.
the first time that actually I saw like the auto drive, the autopilot.
Okay.
So like, you put autopilot on, you put your destination, and then your hands are off the wheel, and like it just goes.
And do they have?
They see the cars go like
Mhm.
there's sensors everywhere, so you see the cars coming this way and like.
But can you use it in Northern Ontario?
Yeah.
You can use it everywhere.
Yeah, we did it. I did it this weekend in Cap, and like it's crazy. Like there was hedges. And so then we were at a stop sign, and then there's hedges and shit. So the car would creep up until it could see if there was cars or not. And then it didn't go because there was cars. But then as soon as it was clear, boom, it goes. And like you don't touch anything. I was like, holy, the future's now. Anyways, moving on.
They have that in the, obviously, like I sell Fords, so they have that option in the Fords as well. It's called Blue Cruise, but you can only use it on the 400 series. It doesn't work like.
Okay.
Yeah, you can only use.
Does my truck have that?
No. You might have it.
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not sure. You might have it. But you can only use it on like the 401 and the 407, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only good for that.
Anyway, so this is just a little tour of the Florida Panthers practice. We're talking about practice.
We're not even talking about the game.
Not the game that I go out and bleed for.
Shout out
Talking
to
about practice.
Allen Iverson in like the late 90s.
Anyways, this is Florida's
Welcome to Fort
practice
Lauderdale, Florida.
facility.
We're here at the War Memorial
Um,
practice facility, our brand new
it's
practice
just nuts,
facility for
man.
the Florida Panthers.
They
But what we're
have,
going to start with right now, this is what we're going to call the
some
player path. The coolest feature, we have a golf cart parking lot, so we had to make special accommodations for golf cart parking. We're now into the main locker room where all the equipment hangs. This is my favorite piece. As you see, the stalls were all laid out, designed, as I use the word tour ready, cookie cutter, mirror-like finish. To
Like-
dry hockey equipment, a lot of times you're plugging fans in. So each
have
stall, we have 27
golf cart
stalls in there.
parking
Each
lot.
stall has its own heat source. What we
The
did
life
is
of
we
being in,
chose to go with the ceiling
Sunrise,
logo,
Florida,
which I think a lot
as
of the
an
Bills are
NHL
going now,
player,
because
right?
traditionally you put on the carpet. We went with the very large one here in
Beautiful room.
Chef, a great,
You know,
great
they got a
investment. We
full
love Tommy
kitchen.
and our strength
They
and
got a
conditioning
big
staff.
gym.
Somebody's working out. If you need,
You know, and they got all the
we're
cold
going to head into
tubs,
our
hot
equipment storage
tubs.
room. This houses all the player equipment,
all their
the player
gear,
custom equipment. It's all
custom
my favorite room
equipment.
here. We wanted to work for
You know,
us.
like the-
Custom cutouts. Everything was custom designed for our
Living
needs.
their best
Just
life.
guys,
we're very
anyways,
fortunate
just
to
a-
be
just a
here in Fort
great
Lauderdale,
practice facility.
where the
Imagine
team
that,
stay.
going,
We're
like,
within
you know,
2.5
just
miles
go,
to the hotels. That's
drive
really
your
the name
golf
of the
cart
game.
up to
You know,
the-
nice, you know,
to
comfortable,
practice.
and what we're able to
Different
provide these
life.
teams.
Yep.
There was this was on Father's Day, so cheers to all the fathers. Nothing like a little Father's Day battle on the golf course.
Oh man, look at these clowns. What the fuck could they possibly be arguing about on the golf course on Father's Day?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Now the guy that's recording this is probably on the previous hole or whatever. But
Maybe one guy drove it into like the other group or whatever. But anyways, they're going at it, man.
What a bunch of idiots.
Anyway, so that happened on Father's Day.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Potsy, here is
Mariachi.
a mariachi band
Mariachi.
performing Higher
Creed.
by Creed.
Can I hang on. Can I give my best Creed impression?
Yeah.
And you'll take me higher. That song, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great tune. That's a banger.
Keep going.
I can't remember the rest of the words. That's the only part. I know.
To a place.
I don't know the words. I'm gonna stop making a fool out of myself.
You have a good Creed voice, though. It's no mariachi there, but. Yeah. Is it weird that it's good?
No, it's not weird. It's good. I like covers.
This was at a Mets game, I think.
Mets game.
Yeah.
The Mets do they do things well. The Mets. I've been to a Yankees game. I've never been to
It's
City
so
Field.
cool, man. I like
But
that.
I gotta go to a.
I like
gotta
that
go to a
stuff.
Yankees game. Or not a Yankees. I've been to a Yankees game. I gotta go to a Mets game.
Yeah.
Maybe see Jerry Seinfeld or something.
Big win, man.
Yeah. I just turn over the
Oilers.
screen.
Go
We're
Oilers.
gonna ship it back to Edmonton. Hey. We're gonna ship it back to Edmonton, baby. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna make a prediction. Actually, I'm gonna go put $20 on FanDuel right now.
Okay.
We're going to Game 7. I'm taking the Oilers in 7. I'm putting $20 on it on FanDuel.
Oh, just $20.
Wow, I'm not even an Oilers fan. I'm just on the bandwagon right now.
You're making it sound like a huge bet.
Well, hang on. On FanDuel, let me go do it. Hang on, you could talk while I'm doing this.
So Potts likes to run his mouth, but it's for $20. Like he was talking like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and then I'm gonna pick the Oilers in 7, and I'm gonna put a whopping
$20.
$20.
Hey, look. The president of Barstool is Dave Petroni. I think I said that right. And
Portnoy.
Portnoy. Petroni. What an idiot. Portnoy. El Presidente. I tried to pretend like I knew his name.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not logged into my
you
FanDuel app.
just wanted an Italian name because you're speaking Potzian again.
Yeah. I'm speaking Patzian. So,
What'd you call him again?
Petroni.
Petroni. It's an Italian name. That's
Yeah,
almost like the
I know.
beer, Peroni. Anyways.
Hang on, I'm trying
It's
to
a mix between
yes.
gas and beer. It's petroleum Petroni. Pepperoni. Anyways, stop talking, Sheldon. Anyways, I don't know what Potts is doing now.
We're trying to find out. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's not that big of a. I put down $20. I win $76 on.
Oh, that's
FanDuel.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good payout.
Yeah.
For the Oilers to win
In
the
7.
Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it's a $76 payout. So I win $56.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
So, anyways, that's my my prediction for the FanDuel this week is $20 on the Oilers to win the Cup, and I think regardless of when we do our next pod, and obviously a lot of it will depend on your schedule, but by the time we reconvene, the Stanley Cup will be handed out.
Yes, sir.
Game 6 is in Edmonton on Friday night. Is that true? Hang on. What are you, Tuesday? 2 days off? Yeah, Friday night.
Friday.
And then Game 7, potential Game 7, back in Sunrise, Florida, next Monday. So this is turned into a series now. I'm excited about the Stanley Cup final all of a sudden.
Hey, man, 3-2.
Yeah. Speaking of going out on limbs and making stupid bets, okay? So I got to give you an update on and talk a little bit to the people that are listening about my bet that I made with my brother-in-law at the Flyers 3-man challenge as I was heavily intoxicated on Saturday night. So my brother-in-law shot and his team shot a pretty good, solid, -7 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And our team, not so good, even. So they had a 7-stroke lead on us. So we were on the 19th hole having dinner and 1 or 2 additional beverages. And I made a bet to him. I put $80 on the table. And again, it's not big money, but it's $80. And I said, I bet you $80 for $80. Straight bet. $80 for $80. We're going to beat you guys tomorrow. Not just tomorrow.
Not just tomorrow,
But overall.
overall, that's like,
Overall. They had a 7-stroke lead on us.
you know, you didn't lose the bet.
I know I didn't. And that's what I'm getting to here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we shot on Sunday -5, and they shot +1. But they only played 9 holes. We played 18. Their back 9 got rained out, so everybody just kind of wrapped it up. That was the end of it. And they shot +1, we shot -5, which made it a 1-shot difference. And I'm like, after the round, I'm like, hey, like, this bet ain't over. This bet ain't over. Like, you would have had a back 9 to play in the pouring rain from the tips. Like, we're probably winning that bet. And that would have went down in Pot's history to win that bet. It really would have. So we reconvened this week and we made a decision. So he has I don't want to get into the handicaps, but in a match play, he would owe me 6 strokes. So we're doing a match play. And I think we maybe should record this for the pod. It'd be pretty entertaining. We might wait till you're back and then we can record it.
Well, no, you have to do one. You have to play against Vicky.
What? I don't remember that one.
Wow.
I have to play against Vicky
Yeah.
in a match play?
Yeah.
Like, what does she owe me? 18 strokes? She's probably a lot better golfer than I am.
Yeah. No, I think it's just straight up. Straight up.
Oh, okay. Straight up. Just.
Yeah, no strokes.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then
well,
me and Tyler are going to have...
Yeah. I heard that one. That's going to be a duel. That's
Yeah,
going to be a
that's gonna
duel.
be
Tyler's
the-
playing golf with us tomorrow at men's night. I got him to come out.
Is he? Yeah?
Yeah, he's going to come play with us.
You
so.
give me the inside scoop there.
Oh, I will.
You know, like
Yeah,
how to beat him.
You just got to... He can drive the ball, but I don't know if he can do anything else with it.
Wow, he used to be good.
Well, yeah, but he hasn't played golf in 10 years.
No, but I think he's probably still good. I'm going to play golf with him. Actually, I'm going to be meeting him out east,
Nice.
and we're going to go golf,
Nice.
on PEI.
So, getting back to the bet, 6-stroke advantage. That'll be played sometime in July, and then we'll finalize the $80 bet. So, I think that's a pretty good deal for me. I got a 6-stroke advantage on him, 3 on the front, 3 on the back, 18 holes, $160 on the line. I'm feeling it. I think I can beat him.
Cool.
He's kind of like Tyler. He can drive far, but well, I know he's a little mental jello, and he's not going to like it when I say this, but he's mental jello.
Are you going to get into his head or what?
I'm going to get into his head, and you know that I can.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm mental jello as well. So
Just like I can get into your head.
yeah. So, anyways, that'll be a great match. I'm looking forward to it. So, next week we talk about the Stanley Cup champs. We head into the NHL draft, which we talked a little bit about with Mark Seidel, and the number 1 consensus pick, Macklin Celebrini. That'll be talk about him a little bit more next week. Whatever else comes up in the wonderful world of sports.
Yeah, I'll just have finished the coaches site
That'll be awesome too,
live,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
conference. So I'll probably have a lot to discuss because like there's a lot of good presenters and a lot of good topics. So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing from these guys. And
Yep, that'll be. I'm excited to hear some of the feedback that you see, and I think most of these, like not most of it, but some of the stuff that they put out there is also on X and stuff like that too, right? They'll have video out there and stuff like that of the presenters and stuff. So looking forward to seeing that, and that's pretty cool. That I would have loved to join you, but
I wonder if they're gonna give me access to like all the presentations after. They should, hey?
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I would think
They
so.
should.
Anyways.
Yeah. So
Anyways,
yeah,
next one will be from, where am I gonna be?
aren't you in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, but are we gonna record it? Well, yeah, we'll probably record it while I'm
Wherever you
there.
are.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe there, maybe out east. Who knows?
I'll be in Toronto on Saturday.
Okay, it's Saturday. I think we'll have to figure that out because I
figure it
leave on. I don't know when I leave. I leave on Sunday
You leave on Sunday?
for Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to the Jays game on the 1st.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be in Toronto on Sunday.
I'll be there on Saturday.
It's too bad we'll have just missed. Maybe we could have done the pod from the Rogers Center or something like that, Real Sports.
Yeah.
Like the guys on TSN Overdrive do there. Like maybe we could have got Jeff O'Neill on the pod or something like that.
Well, maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll see. The O-Dog, I think they call him.
The O-Dog.
Again, thank you to our sponsors for this episode. Episode sponsor, Player X. So huge shout out to them. And also to our official beer sponsor of the Coast to Coast podcast, Full Beer Brewing Company from Timmins. So thank you very much. Again, episode sponsor, Player X. Are you looking to get closer to your favorite athletes? Look no further than Player X. At Player X, we specialize in athlete autograph signings, bringing you face-to-face with the stars of the game. But that's not all. We're your one-stop shop for sports memorabilia, featuring an incredible selection of items that any fan would love. Want to showcase your prized possessions? Our custom photo and jersey framing projects will make your memorabilia the highlight of any room. Based in Kapuskasing, Player X proudly ships across North America and even to Iceland. So why wait? Visit playerx.ca today and bring the excitement of the game into your home. Player X, your connection to the stars of the game. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a good trip, Shell.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see ya. Wanna see ya through the interweb.
Yep.
Peace, everybody.